has no sense of humor. And when I told him that I've always wanted, he said, "Why'd you open up a hamburger?" You know, it was like the first time he and I ever spoke, other than, you know, cough and over. And I said, "Well, I always wanted to," and he laughed. He laughed at me. It was so embarrassing. Is that a fire? Is that the fire? Because it was so embarrassing, but he just like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I always wanted to do." So we opened up pterries, and I say we, if there's one thing that it'll be on my tombstone is he took everybody's ideas and all his friends and he listened. And you know, my wife, God love her, married me before this burger stand appeared, and she had no idea that it was in the back of my mind. And so I found this location in Lamar and Barton Springs, and I actually wanted it 6 years before I got it. And I missed it by like a week, and they leased it out to Schlotsky's. And Schlotsky sat on it for 5 years and never did anything with it. Literally, it just sat empty for 5 years. And the weeds were growing, the plants were dying, and people were living inside it. Literally living inside it. And so anyway, we got it after their lease ran out. The landlord gave it to me, let me rent it. And Kathy, my wife, has just finished this book, Fast Food Nation, by Eric Schlosser. And if you haven't read it, and you just want a fun read, an interesting read, Eric Schlosser, by the way, is the son-in-law of Robert Redford. He married Redford's daughter. And he wrote this book, and he really should have gotten like a Pulitzer, because he chronicles through the years all this history of fast food restaurants and the food they serve, and not all of it's negative, but a lot of it is. And my wife said, you know, if you're going to open up this burger stand, you need to read this book. And thank God, because that took us on this path of diverting ourselves from the rest of the world. And frankly, I was just gonna rely on my personality and work my ass off. You know, and I was just gonna make you come back because, God, that poor schmuck over there is just doing everything for me to buy a hamburger, so I guess I'll come back. I was kind of relying on that. And so when we opened, this is pretty wild because, by the way, I'm making assumptions that most of you guys know pterries or have been there or heard about it. And I really mean that. We're very modest. I don't like, we don't hang banners saying how great we are. We really don't. We're not like that. What you know of us and what is common to you, we were scared to tell you where we opened. So I didn't know how to say we serve all natural beef. Nobody else did. I mean, nobody else did. In fact, the guy who sold it to me from California had was just beginning to offer this package of all natural ground beef. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to scare people off that, you know, this is healthy. Telling you that beer is good for you. It's really not why I drink it, but thanks. And you know, what is now law in the state of New York, serving oil without trans fats or hydrogenated oils. It was a law, I think it passed a year or two ago. I've been doing it for 5 years, from the day I opened. The canola oil that I serve doesn't have any. The peanut oil that most people fry food in does. And so, but I didn't really know how to tell you, so I didn't say a word. And really therein lies the crutch of what I wanted to talk to you about, is that sometimes communicate in different ways. Sometimes you don't communicate, and in effect, I would argue that is a form of communication. Because what I'm doing is letting you decide what pterry is. And I did it very subtly, and I wasn't in any hurry. I did it from the Lamar Barton Springs location, which was been open now almost 6 years. We spent like $35,000 in landscaping, which at that time was like holy crud. So much money, and we did it the cheap way. We brought in all these plants. We hired a landscape architect, and I said, "We just can draw it. You can't put them in because I can't afford you to put it in." So she drew it out. She was wonderful, and we hired all these guys. It was like slave labor. It's 100 degrees outside, and they had to remove 6 inches of topsoil because they had let it sit there for all these years. No one had done anything with it, so everything had to be removed. The soil was dead. We had to replace it. Anyway, so I'm putting in all this landscaping. And I put that little drive-through is there, and I'm taking you, the minute you pull up, I am trying to transform you and take you to a different place. I'm taking you off of Lamar, I'm taking you away from McDonald's and Jack in the Box, and I am bringing you into my world. And my world is this little path, and it's got plants and flowers, honeysuckle, and it's got hand-painted signs, and it's got pretty good music over the speaker, and that's how I communicated what I wanted you to feel. I didn't say a word. I just let you see it, and I let you decipher what that meant to you. And most of the time, you didn't even realize it if you were a customer back then. And now things are different because we have more locations and thank God we're popular and all that. But back then nobody had done this, and we didn't advertise. So we just patiently sat there, and I would literally, women in their 60s would pull up and say to me, "I don't know what it is about this place, but you make me feel young." Awesome. And then the kids from Austin High would pull in. Well, they didn't make them feel young, but they made them feel comfortable. There was something there that made them feel comfortable. And then they brought their parents, and then they brought their siblings, and they brought their boyfriends and girlfriends, and it just kind of grew from there. But the communication aspect really works in so many different ways. And what you're used to is, buy this hamburger. This is the best hamburger ever. And I will never ever say that to you. I just won't. If I won't make that. I'm not that presumptive. What I want to do is, here's my food, here's my menu, here's my, my building. When you walk in, now I control the people who work for me. Here they are, and they're supposed to smile, and they're supposed to matter. By the way, it's kind of hard because I'm not into that fake smile crap. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to, so we have to kind of, okay, you have to be nice, and you have to smile. Oh, no, not that, slow down, not that, because that's not natural. Be natural, but be happy, but don't be, because I don't like that, and I don't like people who put me on the spot when I walk in. And I was at a barbecue place, and I'm like, can I get a bun on? Can I get a sandwich? And the guy's like, well, you've been here before. And I thought, well, how the hell do you know that? Man, why would you say that? Even if he didn't know me, he just assumed I had. And so the ways we communicate are extremely subtle. Our signs, all of our signs are hand painted. Gary Martin on South Lamar is painting signs right now for our new locations, and he's literally doing it for you. And he mixes the colors, and I'm like, Gary, can you keep every time it's a different green?